I do think that perhaps one of the most significant changes with my dad moving there is actually how I feel, because it has given me great relief.
Hi, I'm Agnes Stowicki, Managing Editor with Comfort Life. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading retirement communities and care providers to uncover insights to community lifestyle, care, culture, and leadership. This includes insights from residents, family members, and administration. This is the Comfort Life Insider Perspective.
I mean, the main thing, to be perfectly honest, is that it has given me great, I feel not nearly as worried as I used to. So I know that that my dad is someone's checking in on him multiple times a day, and that has been a significant change. Perhaps more for me than for him, but just that peace of mind that that there are lots of people around, and if there is the need for a sort of an immediate medical concern, there's someone that that I can call and get, and they can be there in a matter of seconds. So really that peace of mind that there are resources, people, and attention when needed is really a major one. I mean, I guess related to sort of the the ability to call for help. Unfortunately, so my dad moved in November, and on New Year's Eve, December 31st, my family and I went over for an outside visit because that was all we could do at that point. And my dad came out to, wish us Happy New Year, and hand us a bottle of wine for us to have for New Year's Eve. And he fell and he broke 5 ribs. And of course, we were all horrified, but immediately I was so grateful that I called the nurse that was on call. And literally within a minute, she was there. She attended to him, brought him back in, and then was able to make everybody feel better about the fact that she offered him to go to the hospital, which he didn't feel like he needed to go, and we agreed that New Year's Eve it probably wouldn't have been the place to go, but she was able to check on him multiple times that day and report. And so my dad knew that someone was right there. And again, given the pandemic, I mean, it would have been very difficult to manage, frankly, anything else. So that was one of those stories and moments in terms of the value of that would have been a very different scenario for all of us, had he not been in a place like that. So that's one of the first stories that comes to my mind. Yeah. So again, remember that, one of the challenges has been he has not been able to benefit so much from the social life yet because he moved in the middle of a pandemic. So only frankly recently have things really started to open up. That has been a challenge because, there have not been a lot of opportunities for him to meet other people. I would say the most sort of ongoing, social event is the 3 times a day that he does meet with at least one other person, now 3 other people in the dining room. They have had, through the pandemic, they have had the odd hallway exercise event, and there were limited capacities to meet in some of in the library or in the pool room, or but because my dad really didn't know anybody, I mean, he has frankly been reluctant to sort of do much of that. So that the social life frankly is we're still sort of anticipating some more value in that area, and it's just it's really been a result of just the conditions that were possible. So yeah, that's that. You know, I can talk a little bit about the physical sort of space, which is absolutely, you know, I think that has really been a positive thing. So, you know, my dad, even though he is 96, you know, he really is quite independent. He was finding that the apartment that he was in that had no services or supports, that was getting to be a bit much. The great thing about the physical space that he has is that, you know, it's a one bedroom apartment. So he has, you know, a nice big bedroom that doesn't have any window, which is a great thing because it means that he can, you know, he can have a dark place to sleep. That was an issue in the last place, that a big window, and really we had a hard time getting it dark enough. So that's been great. And then the other main space is just, you know, it's the perfect amount of space to, you know, he has a little kitchenette, he has television, he has computer desk, and a little corner area for his computer. He has a, you know, a couch and a chair, coffee table. So it really, it's the perfect size that allows him to, I think we were almost able to move, you know, just about everything that he had in his previous apartment. And so that's been great. And then the other great aspect is that he's on the bottom, the main floor, and he has access through a back door right outside. So he is a walker, and every day he goes out to walk, and instead of having to, and again, certainly through COVID, you know, he doesn't have to walk through the entire residence. He can just walk right out his door and, you know, go for a walk and come back in. So that, like, just that setup and layout and access has been really important for him. Yeah, I mean, I would say that one of the improvements that I have noticed is actually around food. So, you know, because he doesn't have to be responsible to, you know, to get groceries in and to make food and to, you know, we certainly hear that, you know, for one person to lots of single people find it difficult to maintain their nutrition. So that has really been a benefit that, you know, he knows and we know that he's getting good food 3 times a day. And that has really been, you know, useful. And I think that has, you know, that has been something that he has, and we've noticed he's benefited. He's put on some weight, not still quite as much as maybe he would like, but he has put on some weight, and knows that he's getting, you know, good quality food. And again, that takes away a major stress for him and I to, you know, to find, and he likes the food. He's talked very positively about the food. I would say that that Arbor Trails is a welcoming place. I certainly see people literally from the minute that you walk in the door. There's someone there that greets you with a smile and is you know, encouraging and makes you feel welcome. And again, because of COVID, there have been, over the course of the time that that we've been involved, you know, changes to what is required, and you know, they're always very informative in terms of, you know, what you need to do and how to do it. And so, you know, and certainly both my dad and I have had, you know, very positive experiences with the staff. People, you know, are just generally friendly, and they acknowledge you, and they are, you know, happy to answer questions or help if you need something. I do think that perhaps one of the most significant changes with my dad moving there is actually how I feel, because it has given me great relief. I used to have a lot of a lot more sleepless nights knowing that, he was, even though he wasn't physically too far away, I was worried a lot about, I was worried about if something happened and what would I know? That was the big thing. Like, how would I know if something happened? And so that has been huge. I mean, I just feel so much more, relief and confident that that I know that there are many times a day that someone's coming in to provide medication or to take his temperature or whatever, and that if he didn't show up at the dining room, there would be someone that would come and check. So just knowing that there are, a number of sort of points in the day when, I know that someone's checking in is huge peace of mind, and I think that does relate to the social as well. It was getting pretty isolating in his apartment with, again, the reality that, he wasn't leaving because that wasn't safe, and it was very difficult to have people coming in. So, if, for instance, there was a physiotherapist that we were working with or an occupational therapist, I mean, those people were generally, we were doing virtual visits. So, the sheer fact of physical presence and knowing that there are, actually individuals that my dad is engaging with on a daily basis. I mean, it's funny how, those what appear to be pretty kind of simple, basic needs has been huge. So I know that that in addition to the relief around sort of any problems, I also know that there's social engagement, to in many ways, as much or as little, maybe not as much, because again, it has been limited, but there's, if he wants to be engaged with people, he can go out his door and find other people. So that has been huge for me too, because again, we know the research on for everyone, but particularly for senior populations, the impact that isolation has had has been huge. So that I think has been really a peace of mind as well. And as I say, I mean, I've now gotten to know many of the staff, and he has gotten to know many of the staff, and that familiarity and feeling like there's someone that you can, even if it's just a quick little conversation or how are you doing, that's a pretty big deal. When we were looking at what might be available that would fit my dad's needs, certainly was very happy to have the opportunity, even in the middle of a pandemic, to physically go and see the property. I would encourage families to do that. It's a beautiful property. There's lots of really nice things to look at from the outside. There's a nice big body of water. Having grown up on Lake Ontario, okay, it's not quite Lake Ontario, but it's still pretty nice to see some water. There's a fountain. There's lots of beautiful flowers. So it's just it's a physically attractive location, which again, was nice to see, as knowing that someone in your family was going to live there. And then, inside, again, it's a well kept, clean place. It's got lots of big high ceilings and nice bright lights, and it's decorated very nicely. And many rooms, I was really impressed from the moment I walked in that it feels not only comfortable, I think it has the right balance between feeling comfortable, but also being sort of looking like a really well maintained, kept, and sort of contemporary look and feel. So that was very, had a very positive sort of aesthetic value in that way. Feel very open. It does not feel closed. There is lots of physical space And there are often, now that things have opened up a bit, there are often many people moving around in different ways. Yes, I see canes and walkers and scooters and people on foot. I see dogs. So there really is good physical space, and I would say that there's opportunity for rooms, like there's a nice library that looks really comfortable. It has lots of books. It has a computer. There's a pool hall that's a nice big open space where residents can just pop in and play pool. Or there's a big TV room, a TV in that room that you can just come and sit and watch TV or watch other people playing pool. There's a little cafe, which again is nice and open. There's an outside area just off the cafe that you can go out, get a coffee or tea, or just go out and sit outside at a table with an umbrella. So yeah, the physical space is probably one of the more positive things that I noticed as a person checking out the space, and was very happy to be able to see when we were looking, we were able to see different rooms and what physical space was available in terms of the kind of room that you chose. I also really was impressed with the way that they helped to sort of match up the residents' needs with the community that you're in. So in my dad's case, he's in a community called Williamsburg, and that means certain things in terms of what your sort of need situation is. So that appears to me to be a really great way to work as well. So you also know, in terms of the social piece, that that the people who are in your community are sort of in a similar situation that you're in. And again, hopefully that means that you might, find yourself getting to know other people who, maybe you could participate in things that they hear about or that you hear about. So yeah, I would definitely encourage families to go, and that's, is getting easier. That was pretty difficult when we were looking, but they still made that possible. And I would really encourage families to do that, because it's a very positive, I think you get a very positive sense of that space. Also, as part of the space on the way to my dad's room, there's and this is the case in every community that you're in, there's sort of a nurses station, they call it, but there are always at least one, if not a number of staff that are in that area. So again, you sort of, without knowing the ropes, where you can go to get questions answered or to get help if you need it. There's also a laundromat if you want to do your own laundry, that is accessible to the residents. There's some different dining rooms that are available that, again, you eat with your cohort, and there's 2 different meal times, so that if you like to eat early or you like to eat later, that those are available. So yeah, that the physical space is certainly an advantage for sure. My advice for just about everything is do your research. So I think the best thing that you can do is be well informed. You don't want surprises. You don't want to expect one thing and then be disappointed. So I think really, for me and my dad, it was very helpful to get information that we could read, to be able to physically go check out the spaces. When it's not a pandemic, I understand that you can even go for a meal. So I would spend as much time as you can there, talking to people. There's nothing like hearing what it's like, not from the people who work there, but from the people who reside there. So I am a big advocate, do your homework, do your research, spend time, ask questions, get information. I had known about the Village of Arbour Trails for years. When my mom and dad first came to Guelph, which was 2012, I did look at Arbour Trails then, and at that point it wasn't totally finished in terms of all the different options and buildings that are there now. But, you know, I did look at that. So I was aware of the Village of Arbour Trails, although I didn't know as much about it in terms of all the different sort of care options. But I knew that there were different care options. So that was always in the back of my mind. I live close to Arbour Trails, so that was a positive that I had sort of, you know, it was definitely always sort of part of the short list should you know, should either my mom and dad or after my mom passed, you know, thinking about options for my dad. And then it was really friends and colleagues who had parents that Arbour Trails. Yeah, so my dad was living in an independent apartment, and he was working with a financial advisor, and they were, you know, talking about his situation, and he was talking to her about how he was starting to feel like things were a little too much to maintain in the independent apartment. And she actually was the one that said to him, have you ever thought of Arbour Trails? And so I'd already known about Arbour Trails, and I had talked to my dad about Arbour Trails, but she really kind of said to him, you know, I have a parent there, and you know, sort of gave him a lowdown of all the benefits. And I think that was really a turning point for my dad, was sort of hearing from someone sort of independently who had a very positive experience. And that was, you know, that was sort of the point at which he said, I'd like to have a look at it and you know, find out a little bit more. So that was the, yeah, that was the turning point. The right space in combination with the right amount of care in terms of what my dad currently was after. He continues to be a very independent soul, even at 96 years old. I still say he has a better memory than I do, but the food was, the meal preparation was really a significant challenge. So that was a really important consideration, to know that you know, at least 3 times a day you're going to get good meals. And that was something I had heard about, that the meals were good. We had struggled over the years finding ways to get nutritious meals that were, you know, yeah, that were enjoyable. So that was one thing that was really important to both of us. And so, yeah, that combination between, you know, what your needs are, both physical needs, but also sort of medical needs or service needs and care. It seemed as though Arbour Trails had that right combination at the time that he was at. And so the ability to, you know, my dad is not ready to move into, you know, a bed. So having the opportunity for a really nice suite that gives room, he walks when it's not nice outside, he does lengths inside. So he walks, you know, it's big enough space that you can, you know, get a good walk inside your suite. So, you know, just the physical spaces that are available in combination with the services that are what he needs at this point. And then that continuum of care, knowing that in the future, you know, he doesn't have to get kicked out. He can actually just move to a different neighborhood or access additional services and resources that could come in or be provided by Arbour Trails. That sort of flexibility in terms of space and care is important. So the move was great. We had a couple of family friends that helped us on the get my dad's things out of his apartment, and then we had a sort of a time slot and a day that Arbour Trails gave us. Again, it was in the middle of the pandemic, so there were some restrictions, but it was very easy. Because he, especially for him, because he had that backdoor access, we were able to actually move everything. You know, we were able to bring a truck very close to the door. We were able to move everything in, and there was only like a couple of us allowed to be in there, but it was, you know, we were able to do that very seamlessly. And then while my family was helping to sort of finish moving in, my son and my partner, I went to the sort of business desk, the admin desk, and did the paperwork. So that's where Nick went over with me like all of the sort of rules and the requirements, and just going over everything again in terms of what was expected. So we did all of that within a couple of hours, and so I think the very first night, Dad was isolated for 2 weeks because of when he moved in, but we got him moved in time that he got his first dinner brought to his room, which was a really well received, and really enjoyed it. And so yeah, the move-in was really, it was well organized, good information. Again, there were no surprises. It was exactly went as I expected it to go. And yeah, that was a pretty easy day, even though it was a difficult day. It actually went well. So one of the, as part of that sort of gathering information, not only did my dad and I gather information, but there was a care coordinator from the Arbour Trails that came to my dad's apartment prior to him moving in, which I really appreciated that step, because it was, not only were we making sure that it was the right fit, but they were making sure that it was the right fit. So I really appreciated that. I thought that was a really important part of the process, and again made us feel more confident about things. So Melinda came to my dad's place, very friendly. So she was sort of the first kind of major point of contact for us prior to that transition in, and Melinda is still very involved in my dad and my life, so that's been really nice to have that sort of consistent person. And during that meeting, she asked a number of questions. We had to fill out a survey, and so it was a way for the staff to get to know who's going to be the new resident. And part of that set of questions was asking things like, what are your favorite snacks, and what do you like to do? And so it was really nice that the day that my dad moved in, there was a lovely basket on his little kitchen counter that had some of the things that he had answered in that survey and in those questions with Melinda. So there were those chips and ginger ale and reading material, historical reading material. So that was a really nice touch. I mean, I guess the one thing that I might do a little differently, I think I expected it to be a little easier to sort of get to know people once my dad was there, get involved in things. I knew that I had heard from other people that there were a fair amount of activities, but, again, context matters. And, he happened to move in the middle of a pandemic, and it was not the same as moving in, and it was also, late November. So, so that transition was really difficult. And I think I would do that a little differently. So I think I would have found out a little bit more, and perhaps maybe helped the staff plan a little bit more about some more specific targeted activities that would have given my dad an opportunity really, really early on, as soon as he was out of isolation, to get to know people. Because as with most of us, I mean, it's hard to show up in a place and suddenly, walk up to people and introduce yourself and, make friends. Of course, it's even harder in the context that my dad was in. So I think that would be the piece, the social engagement and the transition, I think, has been the most difficult. And I think I would have done more to try to make that a little easier. And I'm quite sure that that would have been, possible to do, but I think that didn't happen as well as it could have.
For more information about this community, you can visit their profile at comfortlife.ca.